With inflation still close to 40-year highs, gas prices remain a concern for Ontarians, from dropping prices at the start of the pandemic to a record high in May of this year. Now, it might seem random, but there are several forces at play, moving the price all the time. So what factors do you need to pay attention to in order to avoid sticker shock? Gasoline has to come from somewhere. It begins as crude oil, which is then refined into a number of other products. Now, Canada is one of the countries that provides barrels of crude. In fact, it's one of the top 5 producers, but it's not self-sufficient. It still relies on imports. Other countries and groups, like the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, known as OPEC, decide how many barrels are in circulation. Now, this supply can be affected by extreme conditions. The war in Ukraine, as an example, has led to Russia restricting oil exports, but there are also sanctions against it. Where there's supply, there's demand, and that similarly affects prices. A U.S. government study shows 90% of gas usage is in non-commercial light-duty vehicles, so how often the public drives has a big effect on demand. And we saw how the pandemic drove prices to lows in 2020 and how the return to the office in 2022 brought prices back up. It's also contributed to volatility in the crude market. In fact, the price per barrel dipped into negative territory in April of 2020 for the first time in history. Now, setting aside global upheavals, there are other occurrences that shift demand, though much more predictably. During the summer, prices tend to rise. An increase in car travel prompts more fill-ups. And then ahead of long weekends and holidays, we tend to see gas price spikes, depending on location. Now, the government can intervene, and we've seen 2 levels of government do just that recently. The feds enacted a fuel charge, an extra 11 cents per liter for Ontarians in an attempt to reduce carbon emissions. And then the province implemented its own change in the other direction, taking 5.7 cents per liter away from the gas tax. Now, at the end of the day, after all the shipping and refining and politicking, it is the individual gas stations that set the final price you pay. They are free to raise or lower as they see fit, as long as they aren't colluding with other stations.